Go away, Ivan. Nobody wants to see you.
I also want to take video.
Ivan from AutoBuzz.my, by the way. This is the guy behind all the Chinese news. Hey guys, so we just drove from the Toyota HQ in Shah Alam this morning. Went through a lot of highways, went through the Gatri Highway, went through Rawang, went through Kara, and now we're at Jandabai. As you can see all those cars in the background. We're at the Twinkle Villa. So before I carry on with all the driving impressions and a brief walk around, I'm going to fill in this tummy first. Very important. Check out the food, man. I saw some pretty cool stuff being served. There's some oysters, grilled squid, make your own hot dog bar. So now that I've done destroying all the food at the food bar, let's take you on a brief walk around this car first. Let's start with the front. This is the G model. LED daytime running lights are standard across the board, although for the G and the E, you get projector halogen headlamps, while in the J you get the reflector units. As you have seen, this front end resembles the one in the Vios. Obviously, it's not going to be for everyone. Personally, I don't mind it too much, but honestly, it's really subjective. 16-inch wheels for the G and the E. In the J model, you get 15-inch units. Interesting fact, so turning radius for this is 5.7 as opposed to the 15-inch ones being 5.1. Actually quite a big difference, man, considering it's only 1 inch in difference. Moving on to the side, you get automatic folding side mirrors for the G and the E with indicators by the side, while in the J, you get them by the fenders. Rear disc brakes, again for the G and the E. The J is only the drums. As for the back, as you can see, this being the G variant, you get the LED combination tail lamps. It's the same for the E variant as well, but in the J, you get the bulb type units. Fog lamp wise, again, only in the G and E, you get front and rear fog lamps, while in the J, you only get rear fog lamps. Something I forgot to mention about the wheels, the tires. So for the 16-inch wheels, you get 195/50 tires. For the 15-inch wheels, you get 185/60 tires. Those of y'all who are curious, let's check out what the boot is like. Really spacious. I mean, for what it is, a hatchback and all that, I suppose you can easily fit, if you stack them up together, perhaps 4 cabin size luggages. Wouldn't be a problem at all. As for the inside of the car, let's start with the rear seat first, shall we? First things first, leg room, knee room. Obviously no problem, and this driver's seat in particular has already been adjusted to my driving position, and you guys know I'm really tall and there's still plenty of space. Really no complaint here. As for headroom, as you can tell, not the most spacious, but hey, it's comfortable enough for me. It should be comfortable enough for a lot of you guys. You get fabric seats across all the variants, and if you ask me, honestly I prefer fabric seats because I mean, living in our climate, if you don't have proper tinting with your car parked under the sun the whole day, it does get really hot. Not sure about the design. Again, like the exterior, it's a subjective thing, really dependent on your personal taste. One USB charging port there. Elsewhere, you get some hooks here behind the front passenger seat for your teh tarik and whatnot. Although it doesn't come with a rear armrest, personally it's not an issue for me. I'm not sure what you guys think about it. Let me know in the comment section. As for the door panels, you get this little space here. Not the largest, but big enough for you to put your 500 ml bottle and maybe some extra stuff here. And just to answer some questions that you guys have posed regarding the DVR that comes with the lane departure warning system and the forward collision warning system. So we're here, driving safety. So here's what we found out, alright? You can switch it on, but you can leave it muted. So what happens is, with the system still on, but you don't get the beeping, all you get is a sort of blinker. Yeah, when you're sort of swaying out of the lane. There won't be any beeps, but it'll just blink. But from what I experienced so far from the driver's point of view, you can't really see the light blinking. So I suggest, if you don't think it's too annoying, just leave it on. If not, you're on your own. So you have your multi-information display here, again only for the G and E models. I guess you know which model you need to get now. A couple of information here, quite useful if you ask me. Quite a lot of detailed information actually. And then your settings, your units and whatnot. Pretty comprehensive, but again, like what I said in the Camry, I feel like these kind of things nowadays, in 2019, they need to be of higher resolution. Even though it's a car in the B segment, I feel like as a Japanese car, these guys being Japs and all, I don't know, should be better. But that's just my personal opinion. I'm sure a lot of you guys can live with this. The armrest. So as you can see from the position itself, against these two seats, it's a bit too far back. I wish it was a bit more forward. So to really enjoy this, I gotta push my seat quite far back, and that will obviously affect rear leg room. So as you can see, only my elbow is kind of resting on it, and there's so much more of this armrest kind of wasted. Yeah. So we're about to leave Janda Baik now on the way back to Toyota's headquarters in Shah Alam. First things first, behind the wheel of the all-new Toyota Yaris, I really wish it has telescopic steering adjustments, man. I mean, for someone as tall as I am, not having that can be quite inconvenient. I mean, I have to sit closer a bit, and because I'm sitting closer a bit, my knee will be hitting the steering column. It's quite a big deal actually. I don't think I'm nitpicking. Taller drivers will understand what I'm talking about, so I really think that's something that Toyota really needs to consider putting into their new cars in the future. As for the rest of the car, it's mostly the same in the Vios. I really wish the center console here had a little more space for me to put my stuff. If I know our Malaysian drivers better, like my friends as well, 9 out of 10 of them, dude, the car is just full of trash everywhere, man. So compartment, storage space, I feel nowadays is quite important. Nowadays we have so many different types of cables, power banks, this and that. So storage space is quite important. Aside from that, driving position is okay, visibility is not too bad, although the A-pillars are a bit too thick, so just be mindful of that. Seat is really comfortable. Like I said again in my walk around video earlier, it may just be fabric, but hey man, I've got no complaints. Personally, I prefer fabric over leather anytime, especially in this hot weather. So we're just gonna set off now, back to KL. So upon setting off, the first thing I realized is the throttle. I wouldn't say it's not responsive, but it's more linear now. This girl I'm seeing, she drives a Vios, the older generation Vios, the Dugong more specifically. Those of y'all who drive that car would know what I'm talking about. When you tap on that throttle, right, it's too light. So every time you tap on it, it just surges forward, it surges forward. It can be quite annoying for those of y'all who can't really modulate the throttle properly, especially getting into the car, driving it for the first time. So this one's actually a bit sort of stiffer. In a way, you can say more European. I hope I don't get a lot of flack for saying that. Yeah, so getting out from my old BMW into this, it's actually quite easy to familiarize with the throttle as opposed to getting into the Vios. Now that we're on the highway, the second thing I noticed is the cabin insulation. It's actually not bad. Like I'm doing about 110, 120, and the noise is actually acceptable. Toyota says that it has used acoustic glass to dial down the noise. While I wouldn't say that it's completely silent in here, you do feel the effects. Like I've been in the previous generation Vios, and I can honestly say it wasn't this quiet. Perhaps the bit of noise that you get in the cabin is from the tires, but obviously that can be easily rectified by swapping them to a different set once those are done. Aside from that, at 120, we're going through Kara at the moment, heading back to Toyota's headquarters. The car actually feels quite stable. There's not much body roll. Steering could feel a little more connected, but honestly, you're not going to be driving at high speeds through Kara most of the time. You're going to be driving in tight, narrow urban roads, and I feel like it's good enough for what it is and for what it's for. As for the brakes, obviously this being the G variant, it comes with the rear disc brakes, and having had to slow down quite rapidly from very high speeds earlier, the car did the job really well, very composed, very calm, no drama there, so that's that. As for the gear shifts, smooth I would say, progressive, although the engine with 104 horsepower, I think about 140 Newton meters of torque, I guess you can never have enough power lah. Although I wish I really had a bit more. When I'm revving the engine, it feels like I'm really straining it, and I really wish that all these little 1.5 engines, not just in this car, but like in the other cars in the same segment, could be a little more refined, man. Like once you pass 4,000 RPM, it's like, it's, yeah, I feel quite bad for the engine, and especially people like us, we have a bit more mechanical sympathy than a lot of other people, so we really feel the strain. It's not very nice. Yeah. But one thing you like to know though, I think this would really appeal to most of the young people buying these cars, the sound system, man. It's actually not too bad. Yeah, I mean, I was blasting some crazy EDM earlier, and aside from the sound being quite clear and sharp and bassy and all that, the fitment of all the panels, man, not too bad. There was barely any vibration and all that. But speaking of these panels though, at the checkpoint earlier, Toyota allowed us to try the competitor car, which is the Toyota Jazz. I think we got the base model. The differences, first impression, if I'm absolutely honest, I feel like even though both of them have these like sort of scratchy plastic panels, the ones in the Honda Jazz do appear a bit more premium, although I think it's negligible for most buyers in this segment. Steering wise, handling, I still feel like the Honda Jazz is just a little better than this car. The steering feels more connected. I feel more assured. I feel more confident in thrashing the car through the corners in Kara. But it's not to say that the Yaris is bad. Like I said, at high speeds it's actually quite composed, but perhaps in terms of quick change in direction, it's not as quick, but I don't think it will be a big issue for most of you guys. So we got a few questions from the social media posts that we posted on what you guys would like to know about the Yaris. One of you guys did actually ask this or the Vios. Honestly, if you ask me, it's not, there isn't much difference with the car except for it, one being a sedan and the other being the hatchback. If you ask me personally, I would go for the Yaris because I'm a big fan of hatchbacks. But really, if you're talking about whether you should get the Vios or the Yaris, it's really down to your personal preference. Obviously, the Vios, being a sedan, you would have a much bigger boot, perhaps maybe even a bit more rear leg room, but I don't know, that I could be wrong about that. But yeah, it's really down to personal preference. On a side note, man, if you ask me as well, if you'd like to know, I'd actually pick the red or the black over their signature yellow color. Honestly, if you ask me, I feel like that color is not too appealing for me. Maybe because I'm a guy, maybe because I'm a slightly older guy as well. I just turned 30. So yeah, that's that. That's my take on the Toyota Vios. See you guys again soon.